Welcome to our deep dive today.
Mm.
We're going to be looking at this book, The Tao of Sexual Dating for Men.
Oh,
Have you ever heard that saying, you attract what you vibrate?
oh yeah.
Well, this book kind of takes that idea
Okay.
and really dives deep with it, blends dating advice with this ancient Taoist philosophy.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like a crash course in attracting the right partners,
Yeah.
but with this really cool Taoist twist.
Well, what's really interesting about this book is the author doesn't just give those like superficial dating tips,
Yeah.
He really emphasizes this inner transformation as the foundation for attracting the kind of partner that you really want.
Right. And he really kicks things off with this be, do, have paradigm.
Okay.
And it basically argues that you need to first be the kind of person that naturally attracts what you want,
I see.
and then the actions and the having all flow from that.
Okay.
So think about your own dating experiences.
Uh-huh.
Have you kind of noticed how your mindset affects your actions and your results?
Absolutely. And this book stresses that cultivating those beliefs and attitudes is really paramount.
Yes.
For example, he encourages embracing this abundance mentality.
Yeah.
So instead of like viewing dating as this competitive game with limited options,
Right.
imagine that there's this abundance of potential partners out there, each offering those really unique qualities and experiences.
I love that. No more scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
He also emphasizes the importance of accepting your sexuality.
Yes.
Not just like tolerating it, but really owning it and celebrating it.
And that ties into the idea of believing you provide a great experience for a partner.
Right.
When you're comfortable with your own sexuality and confident in your ability to create that really fulfilling connection, it shines through.
Okay. But how do we actually put those beliefs into practice?
Well, the author gives us some concrete steps we can take.
Okay.
He introduces these 6 rules of attitude
Okay.
to embody, and one that really stood out to me was not overvaluing other people's opinions.
That's a good one.
It's so easy to get caught up in what other people think
Yeah.
especially in the dating world where rejection can feel so personal.
It's like we're constantly seeking validation,
Yeah,
which can be really draining.
exactly. So instead, the author encourages you to focus on your own internal compass.
Yeah.
Like, what are your values? What kind of partner are you looking for?
Right.
Don't let those external opinions sway you from your path.
He also talks about being detached from outcomes,
Yes.
which I think ties into that whole Taoist philosophy of non-attachment.
Exactly. In the context of dating, this means not getting overly invested in any one particular outcome.
Yeah.
So instead of fixating on getting a specific person to like you,
Uh-huh.
approach each interaction with this sense of curiosity and playfulness.
Oh, that's easier said than done.
It takes practice, but the idea is to shift your focus from the outcome to the process
Okay.
and enjoy the journey of connecting with people, regardless of whether it leads to a relationship or not.
There's also this emphasis on cueing off actions, not just words.
Oh, yeah.
So if someone's saying they're not interested, but their body language suggests otherwise,
Yes.
trust what you see.
He actually has this very unique perspective on rejection,
Okay.
suggesting that you define your own rules for what constitutes rejection.
Interesting.
It's about empowering yourself to trust your intuition and not letting that fear of rejection hold you back.
That's really empowering.
Yeah.
Instead of letting those little setbacks, derail you,
Uh-huh.
you're choosing how to interpret them and move forward.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your own dating experience.
Love that.
Yeah.
And speaking of taking control,
Yeah.
he also spends a lot of time talking about understanding and fulfilling your values in dating.
Yes.
This is where things get really interesting, I
Yeah.
think. It's not just about going on dates. It's about being intentional about the kind of relationship you're seeking.
Right.
He really wants you to ask yourself, what feelings are you truly seeking in a relationship?
Yes.
And how do those feelings align with your core values?
Yes. He even brings up this concept of effective forecasting,
Okay.
which is our tendency to overestimate how happy certain things will make us.
I see.
Think about, have you ever thought, if only I had a partner, then I'd finally be happy.
Oh, yeah.
But the reality is, external factors, like having a partner,
Yeah.
can only contribute so much to your overall happiness.
Right.
True happiness stems from within.
So we're back to that self-improvement piece again.
Yes.
Before you even think about finding a partner, you've got to cultivate your own inner happiness and fulfillment.
Right. And then you can approach dating from a place of wholeness.
Yeah.
Rather than seeking someone to complete you.
Right.
He emphasizes finding partners who share your values and who can enhance your life, not just fill a void.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've kind of laid the groundwork.
Yes.
We've explored the importance of aligning with our own values,
Right.
and cultivating the right mindset.
Right.
But where do we actually find these amazing partners?
That's where the practical side of the book comes in. It lays out a 3-step process for finding and meeting desirable women.
Okay.
First, you determine the type of woman you want.
Okay.
And this isn't about creating the superficial checklist,
Right.
but rather identifying the qualities and values that are truly important to you in a partner.
So it's about getting clear on what you're looking for, not just settling for whoever comes along.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then the next step is figuring out where she's likely to be.
Okay.
And this is where he encourages you to think beyond the typical bar scene.
He actually suggests some pretty unconventional places.
Right.
I mean, who would have thought a running club could be a hotbed of romantic potential?
He encourages you to think outside the box. He actually has this framework.
Okay.
He calls it the 3 C's
Okay.
to help you evaluate those potential venues:
All right.
conversation friendliness,
Okay.
community,
Uh-huh.
and continuity.
Okay, let's break that down.
Mm.
What exactly does he mean by those 3 C's?
Okay, so conversation friendliness refers to the environment itself. Is it conducive to striking up conversations?
Gotcha.
A crowded, noisy bar might not be the ideal setting for a deep connection,
Yeah.
whereas a cozy coffee shop or a book club meeting might offer more opportunities for those meaningful interactions.
So it's about finding places where you can actually hear each other
Yes.
and have a decent conversation.
Exactly. Then community refers to the shared interests or values that bring people together in that space.
Okay.
So church might not seem like an obvious dating spot,
Yeah,
but it's a great place to meet people who share your faith.
makes sense.
Plus, it offers that built-in community and continuity
Right.
through those regular gatherings and events.
So that's where continuity comes in.
Yes.
It's about having repeated opportunities to interact with the same people over time,
Right.
which can help build rapport and trust.
Precisely. And he suggests exploring places like night school,
Okay.
running clubs, even long-distance transportation. He even points out the unique benefits of each. Night school provides a shared learning experience, running clubs foster camaraderie, and a focus on health and long-distance transportation. So it's all about shared journeys and unexpected encounters.
Long distance transportation. I never thought I'd find love on a Greyhound bus.
Ah,
But hey, maybe it's the perfect setting for a meet cute.
right.
The point is, it's about finding venues where connections can form more naturally based on those shared interests or experiences.
Exactly. And once you've found those ideal venues,
Yeah.
the final step is having a plan for opening and continuing an interaction.
Okay.
This doesn't mean having a scripted pickup line,
Right.
but rather having a strategy for approaching someone in a way that feels authentic and engaging.
So it's about having the confidence to initiate a conversation and the skills to keep it flowing.
Exactly.
Hmm.
He emphasizes the importance of being present, making eye contact,
Mm.
and genuinely listening to what the other person has to say.
Right.
It's about creating a connection, not just trying to impress someone.
All right. So we've covered the mindset piece and the practical aspects of finding potential partners.
Yes.
But how do we actually create attraction?
Yeah.
How will we make those initial sparks fly?
That's where the next section of the book comes in,
Oh,
and it's
gee.
where things get really spicy.
Let's dive into the art of attraction. All right, we're back and ready to dive into the art of attraction.
Okay.
This book really emphasizes making a woman feel, not just think.
Right.
And it lays out 5 attraction-reducing behaviors to avoid, like the plague.
Oh, wow.
Things like compliance, neediness, being clingy.
Yeah.
These are behaviors that can actually work against attraction.
Yeah, I see.
I've always struggled with playful teasing, but I can see how it could add a spark.
Oh, yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot between being playful and respectful.
Yeah. What's interesting is he suggests this subtle shift in dynamics.
Okay.
Instead of passively trying to please, he really encourages this playful back and forth. Like, do it in a lighthearted way, not to be mean or anything like that.
Yeah, but to create that spark.
That makes sense. So what are the antidotes to those attraction-reducing behaviors?
He suggests embodying 5 methods for being compelling.
Okay.
Mystery challenge, outlandishness, excellence, and intensely focused attention.
Whoa, that's quite the list.
He provides vivid examples and anecdotes to bring these to life.
Okay, let's unpack those. Mystery Esmican, how do you cultivate that without being, like, aloof or distant?
Imagine you're at a party, you're talking to someone.
Okay.
Instead of revealing everything about yourself,
Uh-huh.
hold back a little bit. Share just enough to kind of pique her curiosity
Okay,
and leave her wanting more.
I see.
It's about creating an aura of intrigue.
I like that. Okay, what about challenge? Isn't there a risk of coming across as like arrogant or dismissive?
He stresses doing it in a playful, respectful way.
Yeah.
It's not about putting her down,
Right.
but about engaging her mind and spirit.
Okay.
For example, instead of agreeing with everything she says,
Uh-huh.
offer a different perspective
Okay.
or playfully challenge her assumptions. So it's about creating like a dynamic tension that keeps things interesting.
Exactly. Now, outlandishness might seem a bit outlandish,
Yeah.
but he's not saying to do anything crazy or inappropriate.
Go it.
It's more about stepping outside of your comfort zone
Uh-huh.
and showcasing your unique personality.
Okay, so maybe instead of ordering the same boring beer, you suggest trying like a new craft brew with a quirky name.
Exactly.
It's about being memorable,
Right.
showing her you're not afraid to be a little different.
Precisely. And then there's excellence.
Oh?
This doesn't mean you need to be like a world-class athlete
Yeah.
or a millionaire.
Okay.
It's about striving to be the best version of yourself in
Right.
whatever you do,
Yeah.
whether it's your career, your hobbies, your personal growth.
It's about that inner confidence that comes from pursuing your passions
Exactly.
and living a life that you're proud of.
Exactly. And finally, intensely focused attention.
Okay?
This is about being fully present in the moment with her, really listening to what she's saying.
Right. And making her feel like she's the only person in the room.
I can see how that would be incredibly attractive. It's about making her feel seen, heard, and valued.
Right. It's about creating that sense of deep connection that goes beyond superficial small talk.
Now, we've sparked attraction. How do you nurture that spark into a deeper connection? That's where the concept of romance comes in.
Yes.
He defines romance as consideration plus surprise.
I like that.
He even offers practical tips for making that happen.
Okay.
Consideration plus surprise sounds great in theory,
Yeah.
but how do you strike that balance without appearing contrived or manipulative?
He stresses being genuine in your actions.
Okay.
Think about those small, thoughtful gestures, like bringing her favorite snack on a date
Okay.
instead of that giant bouquet,
Yeah.
or taking her needs and preferences into account when you're planning outings.
Okay.
It's about showing you're paying attention and that you care.
I'm curious about the 4 phases of romance he introduces.
Total stranger, sexy safe stranger, and sexy partner.
Okay.
What behavioral cues can we look for to recognize these stages and navigate those transitions smoothly?
Pay attention to her nonverbal cues.
Okay.
Remember, actions speak louder than words.
Right.
Is she making eye contact, smiling, turning her body towards you?
Okay.
Those are all good signs.
Green lights.
As you move through the phases, the level of trust and intimacy deepens.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, a sexy, safe stranger is someone you're starting to feel a connection with,
Okay.
but haven't yet established that deep level of trust.
Okay. That's fascinating. How do you navigate that tricky territory of physical intimacy?
The book stresses the importance of establishing trust and safety before things get physical.
Okay.
He offers some insightful tips,
Okay.
like being predictable in your behavior.
Oh, that seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be a little mysterious and unpredictable to keep her interested?
To a certain extent, yes.
Okay.
Mystery and challenge are definitely part of that attraction phase.
Yeah.
But once you're moving towards intimacy,
Yeah.
consistency becomes key.
Right.
Shows you're not playing games, and she can feel safe with you.
Okay.
He also emphasizes the importance of open body language and laughter.
Oh, laugh.
Laughter communicates safety
Yeah.
on a deep unconscious level.
Interesting.
It's like saying, hey, we're cool here. No need to be tense.
So you're not just saying I'm trustworthy.
Right.
You're actually demonstrating it
Exactly.
through your actions and your demeanor.
It's about congruence
Right.
between what you say and what you do.
Another key point, he addresses any potential anxieties she might have about intimacy.
Yes.
He says, in our society, there's often this double standard when it comes to sexual experience.
Oh, yeah.
Women are judged much more harshly than men.
It's true. Women are often expected to be more reserved and cautious,
Yeah.
while men are encouraged to be more assertive.
He suggests being upfront about your intentions and expectations.
Yes.
If you're looking for a serious relationship, say so.
If you're not ready for commitment, be honest about that too.
It's about respecting her boundaries, making sure you're both on the same page.
That takes a lot of courage.
It does.
It's much easier to just go with the flow and hope for the best.
Yeah.
But I can see how honesty and clarity
Yeah,
would ultimately lead to a stronger connection.
exactly.
It sets the stage for a relationship built on trust and mutual respect.
Yes,
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here,
we have.
from self-improvement and aligning with the Tao
Uh-huh.
to navigating those complexities of attraction, trust, and intimacy.
Yeah.
What happens when we move beyond those initial stages into the realm of long-term relationships?
That's where the real journey begins. He delves into the dynamics of making relationships last, which is what we'll explore next.
So we've explored attracting a partner and navigating all those complexities of building a connection.
Right.
Now let's dive into that final part
Okay.
of our deep dive into the Tao of sexual dating for men.
Where we'll uncover the author's insights on making relationships last.
One of the most striking things in the book is this emphasis on personal transformation.
Okay.
It's not just about tricks or anything like that to
Yeah.
get women,
Right.
but about becoming the most attractive and fulfilled version of yourself.
It's such a powerful message.
It is.
Instead of external manipulation, it's about inner growth,
Yeah.
aligning with your own values,
Right.
cultivating those qualities like confidence, self-awareness, integrity.
Yes.
It's about becoming a stud in the truest sense of the word.
Exactly. He even encourages you to embrace your sexuality
Yeah.
and become comfortable with who you are,
Mhm.
owning your desires and expressing them in a healthy, respectful way.
It's about being authentic, not trying to fit into some preconceived mold.
Right.
But relationships are a two-way street.
Yeah.
How do you maintain that sense of individuality while nurturing a lasting connection?
He talks about this importance of balance, finding that sweet spot between being assertive and considerate,
Oh, yeah.
pursuing your own needs while being attentive to your partner's needs.
Uh-huh.
It's about finding that dynamic flow between masculine and feminine energy.
Like that yin and yang symbol.
Yes.
Two opposing forces working in harmony.
Exactly.
But how do you keep that harmony alive over time?
He emphasizes that relationships evolve.
Yeah,
What worked in the beginning might not work 5 years down the road.
that's true.
It's about transitioning from the excitement of the sexy stranger phase
Right.
to the enduring qualities of partnership.
So you're saying we need to adapt as the relationship progresses.
Yeah.
But how do we make that transition without losing the magic?
Well, the book emphasizes maintaining your independence,
Okay.
even within a committed relationship.
That sounds kind of counterintuitive.
It is, but it's about striking a balance
Okay.
between togetherness and individuality.
He even suggests maintaining an aura of sexual attraction.
Yes.
It's not about playing games or being disrespectful, but remembering what drew you to each other in the first place. That's a bold strategy. I could see how that could backfire,
Yeah.
if not done carefully.
Yeah, he stresses doing it in a subtle, playful way.
Okay.
It's more about reminding your partner that you're still desirable,
Uh-huh.
you're still a dynamic individual,
Right.
not about making them jealous or anything.
That makes sense. It's about keeping the energy flowing. Speaking of energy,
Yes.
one of the biggest relationship killers is being taken for granted.
Oh, absolutely.
Those qualities that were initially captivating
Yeah,
become like expected over time.
right.
How do you combat that?
The book suggests several strategies,
Okay.
starting with continuous effort.
Okay.
Remember those romantic gestures we talked about?
Yeah.
Those don't stop just because you're in a committed relationship.
So keep the surprises coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about keeping things fresh and exciting,
Uh-huh.
showing that you care.
Okay.
He also stresses not being afraid to say no sometimes.
Well, that's a tough one.
It is, especially when you want to please your partner.
Yeah.
Isn't that contradictory to the consideration aspect of romance?
It's not about being selfish
Okay.
or inconsiderate,
Right.
but having those healthy boundaries.
Okay.
If you're always saying yes, you risk becoming resentful.
It's about maintaining your sense of self and not losing yourself in the relationship.
Exactly. And how do you navigate those disagreements when they inevitably arise?
Mm-hmm.
He highlights the importance of clear, honest communication.
Yeah.
It's about really listening to your partner,
Uh-huh.
understanding their perspective,
Okay.
but also expressing your needs and desires.
So often we just expect our partner to know what we're thinking or feeling,
Yes,
which can lead to all those misunderstandings and resentment.
exactly. It's about being direct,
Yeah.
articulate,
Yeah.
recognizing you're a team.
Working together.
Right.
What about when those individual needs and desires clash?
He talks about compromise,
Okay.
finding solutions that work for both of you.
That makes sense, but compromise can be tricky. It can.
How do you ensure that one person isn't always giving more than the other?
He suggests revisiting those relationship agreements
Okay.
periodically.
Uh-huh.
Think about things like finances, chores,
Right.
even how much time you spend together.
Yeah.
These things can shift as your lives change,
Yeah.
so it's important to be open to renegotiating them.
It's about being proactive and making sure you're both still on the same page.
Right. He also talks about maintaining a sense of fun and adventure.
Yeah?
Continuing to do things together that you enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
trying new things, keeping that sense of excitement and discovery alive.
Date nights.
Absolutely. Now, here's something that really struck me as a profound insight.
Go.
He talks about maintaining that aura of desirability,
Oh.
even within a long-term relationship.
Right.
And it made me think how often we stop putting effort into ourselves
Yeah.
once we're in that committed relationship.
It's like we've won the prize.
Right.
And now we can coast.
Right. And that stagnation can kill a relationship.
Yeah.
It's about continuing to invest in ourselves, pursuing our passions,
Yeah.
taking care of our physical and mental health,
Right.
cultivating that sense of purpose and meaning in our lives.
So it's not just about avoiding pitfalls,
Right.
but actively nurturing the relationship and ourselves.
Precisely. And that's where aligning with the Tao comes in.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the natural flow of life,
Okay.
letting go of the need to control everything,
Yeah.
and trusting that when you're in alignment with your true self, the right relationships will naturally flourish.
It's about surrendering to the journey and enjoying the ride. This has been such an incredible deep dive.
It has.
It feels like we've covered like a whole relationship roadmap
We have.
from that initial attraction to long-term partnership.
Remember, the journey of love and connection
Yes.
is a lifelong adventure.
It is.
Embrace the Tao.
Yes.
Be true to yourself
Uh-huh.
and enjoy the ride.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Tao of sexual dating for men.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful, thought-provoking,
Yes,
and maybe even a little bit life-changing.
absolutely.
Until next time.